she chirped, holding a fan of paint samples and a Pinterest printout like they were sacred scrolls. We're renovating your childhood room for the baby. I just blinked at her. What? She smiled, that smile of hers, the one that meant the decision was already made. Isn't it exciting? She gushed. We're thinking soft sage or warm oatmeal. Oh, and this really cute accent wall with little clouds. It's gender neutral, but still cozy, you know. I looked past her down the hall. My dad stood there with his coffee mug, wearing his usual "I'm too tired for feelings" face. My mom hovered behind him, trying to look supportive, but mostly looking like she wanted to disappear. They were part of this ambush. I was 28, a firefighter. My schedule was insane. But for the past year, my parents had been letting me rent my old room to help me save up. $2,400 a month. That number felt like a bruise every single time I said it. Emily tapped the paint samples against my doorframe, like a judge banging a gavel. We're starting this weekend. My mouth opened, then just stayed there. My brain needed a moment to catch up to the sheer audacity. Where am I supposed to sleep? I finally managed. Her smile didn't falter. Oh, you'll figure something out. You're resourceful. I turned to my dad. Dad. He shrugged. Not even a full shrug. A half shrug, like my question bored him. Figure it out, he mumbled. Family expands. That was it. That was the explanation. That was my eviction notice. Heat rushed up my neck. Not the controlled heat of a fire, I understand. A fire I can read, a fire I can fight. This was different. This was the kind of heat that comes from realizing you've been standing in the wrong building the whole time, and it's already collapsing around you. I pay you, I said slowly, each word like stepping on glass. $2,400 a month. My mom lifted her hands, as if she could physically catch the tension in the air. Max, don't make this into a, hey what? I snapped. A problem? It is a problem. Emily sighed, like I was the one being dramatic. You're not paying for that room. You're paying to live here. I just stared at her. And living here includes not having a room? My dad took a sip of his coffee, completely detached, like we were discussing the weather. It's temporary. How temporary? I asked, my voice flat. Emily's eyes lit up. Oh, well, the baby's due in 4 months, but obviously we want the nursery ready early and then, newborn stage and then sleep training and then toddler stage. So I finished, my voice going dead. Never. My mom tried again, pulling out the classic line. Sweetheart, Emily needs support. You're her brother. I laughed once. It came out ugly. I'm her brother, I repeated. Not her spare room. Emily stepped forward, still holding those paint samples like weapons. You don't even use the room half the time. You're always at the station. And when you are here, you just sleep. Yes, I said, because I'm a firefighter. She rolled her eyes. Here we go. Something in me snapped. Not loud, not cinematic, just a quiet little click, like a door locking. I stood up. My knees felt stiff from a long night of hauling hoses, forcing entry, carrying a screaming woman down a smoke-filled stairwell. My body was tired in a deep way that doesn't fix itself with sleep. But my mind suddenly felt razor-sharp, clear. Okay, I said. Emily blinked. Okay. I walked past her into the hallway. My dad watched me, disbelieving, like he expected me to collapse into compliance, like I always did. I opened the linen closet, pulled out the duffel bag I kept tucked behind old towels. My mom's voice sharpened. Max, what are you doing? I walked back into my room and started packing. No ceremony. Jeans, work shirts, socks. My turnout boots were at the station, but everything else I owned was here. Even that framed photo of me in academy gear that my mom insisted on putting on the mantel, like it proved she was proud. Emily laughed nervously. Okay, don't be dramatic. We're just talking. I'm not, I said, zipping the duffel. My dad's tone shifted just a fraction. Where are you going? I paused, looking at him. It hit me then. The way he asked wasn't worried. It wasn't, "Are you okay?" or "Can we talk?" It was more like, "What inconvenience is this going to create for us?" "I'm moving out," I said. My mom's face tightened. "Max, you can't." I repeated, "You just told me I don't have a room anymore. That seems like a pretty clear message." Emily scoffed. "You're acting like we kicked you out." I looked right at her. "You did." My dad set his mug down with a soft clink. "Don't be petty." "Petty," I echoed, and I could feel my voice climbing. "I pay you more than most people pay for a mortgage, and you're taking my room without even asking me." My mom's eyes flashed. "We're family." I stared at her. "Then stop charging me rent." Silence. The kind of silence that tells you everything. Emily's smile reappeared, thin and sharp. "You're going to regret being like this when you need us." I slung the duffel over my shoulder. "I already needed you. You were busy picking paint." My dad shook his head slowly like I was a profound disappointment. "So you're just going to walk out?" "Yes," I said. "Tonight." My mom took a step toward me, her voice softening into practiced manipulation. "Max, we were going to tell you we could move you to the basement." "The basement?" I repeated, with the mold smell and the leaking window. "It's fine," my dad said dismissively. "People have it worse." I stared at them for a long second. Then I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "They do. But I'm done comparing my life to misery as a way to justify you treating me like an ATM." Emily's face hardened. "So what? You think you're a hero because you run into buildings?" "No," I said quietly. "I think I'm a grown man who deserves a door that doesn't get repainted over him." And I walked out. I didn't slam anything. I didn't scream. I just left, my boots thudding down the steps, the night air cold and clean against my face. It felt like stepping out of a burning house and realizing you'd been choking for years. I slept on my buddy Lewis's couch that night. He lived 10 minutes from the station and didn't ask questions beyond, "You safe?" That was enough. The next day, my phone vibrated like it was trying to crawl off the table. Unknown number. I answered, groggy. "Hello." "Hi, this is Brad with Northridge Renovations," a man said, brisk and cheerful. "We're scheduled to start today. I'm at the address." I sat up. "Okay." There was a pause, like he was waiting for me to say something else. Then Brad cleared his throat. "So, quick question. Who's paying?" "The invoice is $34,000. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like I'd missed a step on a ladder. "What?" I choked out. "I've got the contract here," Brad continued. "Deposit was supposed to be processed this morning, but it bounced. I'm standing with a crew and materials. Just need to know which card we're running for the initial payment." My heart started hammering. "Hold on. What contract?" "The nursery renovation," Brad said like I was slow. "Full demo, new drywall, electrical, flooring, built-in shelving. It's a really cute design, by the way." I swung my legs off the couch, suddenly fully awake. "Whose name is on that contract?" Another pause. Paper rustling. "Maxwell Carter," Brad said. "That you?" My mouth went dry. "Yes," I whispered. "That's me. But I didn't sign anything." Brad exhaled. The cheerfulness died. It's got your signature and your email. And your phone number?" "That's this number." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Email." "Yeah," Brad said, reading. "Max Carter, FD something." That was my email. The one I used for shift swaps and HR paperwork. The one only my parents knew, because I had used their printer once to print out my benefits, and my mom had helpfully saved my login information. My chest went cold. "Brad," I said, forcing my voice steady the way I did at a scene when a homeowner started panicking. "Do not start any work. Do not touch anything. I'm on my way." I hung up and stared at the wall like it might explain how my family could possibly be this bold. Louis wandered in, rubbing his eyes. You look like you saw a ghost. I think my parents forged my signature, I said. He blinked. That's a sentence. I grabbed my jacket. I'm going there. The drive to my parents' house took 12 minutes. My hands shook the entire time, white-knuckled on the steering wheel. I kept replaying the conversation. It's got your name. Deposit bounced. Deposit? How much was the deposit? I pulled up my banking app at a red light. My account history loaded, and my stomach twisted. A charge attempt from Northridge Renovations. $8,500. Declined. I hadn't declined it. My bank had, because my debit card had a daily limit and the transaction was flagged. A cold wave of gratitude hit me so hard I almost laughed. My bank's fraud detection was the only person in my life who had apparently decided to protect me. When I pulled into the driveway, Brad's truck was there. 2 guys in work boots stood beside it, arms crossed, waiting. Brad himself was on his phone, pacing. My mom opened the front door before I even got out of the car, like she'd been watching. Her face was bright and false. Max. Hi. We were going to call you. Why is my name on the renovation contract? I asked, loud enough for Brad to hear. Her smile flickered. Oh, sweetheart, you're overreacting. I walked past her into the hallway, like I still lived there, like I still belonged. My dad was in the kitchen, reading the paper. Emily was at the table, sipping a smoothie, scrolling on her phone, like nothing was happening, like I wasn't a person. Max, Emily said without looking up. If you came to yell, don't. I'm stressed. I pointed toward the front yard. There's a contractor outside with a $34,000 invoice in my name. Emily finally looked up. Her expression was pure annoyance. Okay. And I didn't sign anything, I said. My dad folded the paper slowly. Lower your voice. Lower my voice? I snapped. You committed fraud. My mom's eyes darted toward the front door, like she didn't want the neighbors hearing. Max, don't say things like that. It's not fraud. We just used your information because you're part of the household. I'm not, I said. I moved out last night. Remember? Because you took my room. Emily waved her hand dismissively. God, you're being so dramatic. It's for the baby. I stared at her. And you thought I was paying for it. She blinked, genuinely confused. Well, yes. You pay rent. My dad leaned back in his chair, suddenly calm. We're all contributing. No, I said. I'm contributing. I've been contributing. My mom stepped closer, her voice turning syrupy. Honey, it's not like you're using that money for anything important. Something in me went quiet again. That same door lock click. I'm a firefighter, I said. I work 16-hour overtime shifts to afford that rent. I run into burning houses so you can tell people your son is a hero while you drain his bank account. My mom's face tightened. Don't be disrespectful. Emily stood up, paint sample energy returning. You don't understand how expensive babies are. I laughed, sharp and humorless. Then don't have one you can't afford. Emily's mouth fell open. Excuse me. My dad's voice turned hard. That's enough. I pulled out my phone and showed them my bank app. The declined $8,500 attempt sat there like a smoking gun. This charge, I said, hit my account this morning. You tried to pull the deposit from my card. My mom's lips pressed together. We didn't try. It just happened. I stared at her. You literally saved my card in your browser. Emily crossed her arms. So what if we did? You live here. You're family. This is what family does. No, I said, my voice steady. Family asks. Family doesn't steal. My dad stood up, taller than me, trying to use size instead of logic. You owe us. We raised you. That line. The classic line, like love is alone. I didn't flinch. I paid you, I said. $2,400 a month for 2 years. My mom opened her mouth. I held up my hand. Stop. Then I did something I'd never done in this house. I told the truth all the way. You didn't charge me rent because you needed help with the mortgage, I said. You charged me because it was easy, because I said yes, because you knew I'd feel guilty if I didn't. Emily scoffed. You're acting like a victim. I turned to her. You're acting like you're entitled to my life. Her cheeks flushed. I'm having a baby. You don't get it. I get it, I said. You want the nursery. You want the support. You want the house. You want everything to stay the way it was, where you take and I give. And Mom and Dad call it love. My dad's jaw clenched. So what do you want? An apology? I looked at them. Really looked. My mother's tight smile. My father's stubborn pride. My sister's offended outrage. And I realized they didn't feel bad. They felt inconvenienced. I want my name off that contract, I said. I want you to tell Brad outside that signature wasn't authorized by me. And I want you to stop using my card, my email, and my life like a communal wallet. My mom's eyes widened. Max, don't. I walked to the front door and opened it. Brad looked up, wary. I stepped onto the porch and said loud and clear, I did not authorize this renovation. My name was used without my consent. My mom made a strangled sound behind me. Max. Brad's face tightened. So, you're saying, I'm saying, I continued. I didn't sign anything. And any signature you have is forged. I'm not paying. Not a cent. Behind me, my dad's voice boomed. Get inside. I didn't even turn around. Brad exhaled slowly. Okay then. I can't proceed. I'll need to speak to the homeowner. My mom stepped onto the porch. Her smile glued back on like bad wallpaper. Hi. Yes, sorry. This is just a misunderstanding. It's not, I said and pulled out my phone again. I opened my email and showed Brad the forwarded estimate, the contract, the Max, please sign here, email that had been marked as read from an IP address. My parents' home Wi-Fi. My mom froze. Brad's eyes moved between us. He looked uncomfortable now, like he'd walked into a family fight with power tools. I'm going to document this, he said quietly. And I suggest you all figure it out, because if there's fraud involved, that's not on us. He turned to his crew. Pack it up. Emily burst out of the doorway like a storm. Are you kidding me? She hissed at me. You're ruining this. I finally looked at her. No, I said. You ruined it when you decided my money was yours. Her eyes flashed. You are so selfish. I tilted my head. Selfish would have been letting the charge go through and then cutting you off without warning. This is me preventing you from stealing $34,000 from me. My dad stepped forward. You're embarrassing us. I nodded slowly. Good. And then because I knew myself, because I knew the way my brain worked, the way guilt tried to creep in like smoke under a door, I did the next thing before I could talk myself out of it. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and canceled the automatic transfer, the one labeled Rent Parents. I watched the confirmation screen appear like a blessing. Emily stared at me like I'd slapped her. You can't do that. I can't, I said, and I did. My mom's voice trembled. Max, please. We have plans. You already what? I asked. Spend it. Silence again. That was my answer. I walked to my car. My mom followed me down the steps, her voice rising. Max, you're going to abandon your sister, your niece or nephew. I stopped by the driver's side door and turned. I'm not abandoning anyone, I said. I'm refusing to be used. My dad's voice cut in from the porch. If you walk away from this, don't come crawling back. I stared at him for a long second. Then I nodded. Deal. I drove away. That day I did 3 things. First, I filed a fraud report with my bank and froze my card. The agent on the phone was calm, professional, and not emotionally invested in whether my mother cried. It was refreshing. Second, I changed every password my parents had ever touched. Email, banking, even the stupid streaming service my mom used to watch cooking shows. I turned on two-factor authentication like it was a locked door in a bad neighborhood. Third, I called an apartment complex near the station and asked if they had anything available immediately. They did. It was small. 1 bedroom, no fancy warm oatmeal paint. The carpet was worn. The kitchen smelled faintly like old garlic. It was perfect. When I moved my stuff in that week, a real move, not the half-living I'd been doing at my parents', Louis showed up with a folding chair and a six-pack like a tiny housewarming rescue crew. "You okay?" he asked, handing me a beer. I looked around the empty room and felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Relief. "I think so," I said. "I think I just didn't realize how heavy it was." He nodded like he understood. Family can be heavier than fire. Over the next few days, my phone lit up like a siren. "Mom, please call, we need to talk." "Dad, you're overreacting." "Emily, I can't believe you did this to me." "Mom again. Do you want your niece to grow up knowing you didn't care?" That last one almost got me. It poked at the soft part, the part that still wanted to be good. But then I remembered my dad shrugging and saying, "Figure it out. Family expands." I remembered Emily standing in my doorway with paint samples like my life was just a room to redesign. I remembered the $8,500 charge attempt, and my guilt hardened into something else, clarity. I responded once in the family group chat, "Max, I'm not paying for the renovation. I'm not paying rent anymore. My name was used without consent. Do not contact me about money again." Emily immediately replied, "Emily, wow, so you're really choosing money over family." I stared at the screen, then typed the truth. "Max, you chose money over family. You just assumed it was mine." My mom sent a crying emoji. My dad sent nothing. For a while there was peace. Then, a week later, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "This is Officer Ramirez," a voice said. "Is this Maxwell Carter?" My stomach tightened. "Yes. I'm calling regarding a report of identity misuse connected to a home renovation contract," he said. "We'd like to ask you a few questions." I sat down hard on my couch. "Okay," I said. 2 hours later, I sat in a small interview room and told the truth again. I showed the emails, the attempted charge, the timeline. I explained that I was a firefighter, that I worked nights, that I'd been paying my parents rent because they'd told me it was fair, that they'd promised it was about bills. The officer's face didn't change, but his eyes did that thing where they sharpen, like a person deciding what their hearing matters. When I finished, he leaned back slightly. "So they had access to your email and banking info?" "Yes," I said, "because I trusted them." He nodded once. "We see this a lot with family. They think permission is automatic." I swallowed. "What happens now?" "We investigate," he said. "And you keep documenting. Don't engage emotionally. Keep it factual." That night, I went to work. A real fire call came in around 2 a.m. Row house. Kids inside. Smoke curling out of the second-story windows like a warning. And I did what I always did. I went in. Because that's the thing about my job. When people are trapped, you don't argue about whether they deserve saving. You just move. But when I came out, sweating and shaking, and I sat on the tailboard of the engine with a bottle of water, I realized something brutal. I'd been doing that at home, too. Running into smoke. Trying to save people who kept lighting the match. A month later, my mom showed up at my apartment. I knew it was her because she banged on the door like she owned it. I looked through the peephole and saw her standing there, hair perfectly done, face already set in wounded martyr mode. I opened the door, but I didn't invite her in. She blinked at the sight of me like she expected me to look guilty. "Max," she whispered. "Oh, sweetheart, what do you want?" I asked. Her face cracked slightly. "We're in trouble." I didn't move. "With who?" With the contractor, she admitted, voice small. They're threatening legal action. And the police called. I nodded slowly. Yeah. Her eyes filled with tears. Real or strategic. I couldn't tell anymore. We didn't mean it like that, she said. We just thought you'd help. I did help, I said. For years. She reached out like she wanted to touch my arm. I stepped back. Her hand hovered in the air, then dropped. Emily's stressed, she whispered. The baby! Stop, I said, calm but firm. Don't use the baby as a shield. My mom flinched. I leaned against the doorframe. You want to know the part that hurts the most? She nodded, silent. It's not the money, I said. It's that you didn't even ask. You didn't even consider that I might say no. You just took. My mom's lips trembled. We're family. I exhaled slowly. Family doesn't do that. Her eyes searched my face like she was trying to find the version of me who always folded. But that guy was gone. Finally, she whispered, So you're really done? I stared at her and felt the strange grief of accepting what you already knew. I'm done being your bank, I said. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be one where I'm treated like a son, like a brother, not like a payment plan. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. And then she said the thing that proved she still didn't get it. But what about the money you owe us for living there? I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. Goodbye, Mom, I said, and I closed the door. After she left, my apartment was quiet. No yelling, no paint samples, no family expands excuses. Just me, my space, my peace. I sat on the floor with my back against the couch and let the quiet wrap around me like a blanket. It felt foreign at first, like a silence you don't trust because you're used to alarms. But it wasn't an alarm. It was freedom. People ask me, sometimes, if I regret it. If I regret cutting them off financially, if I regret making things hard right when Emily was having a baby. And I always think of that moment. Emily in my doorway, smiling, already spending my life like it was hers. I think of my dad shrugging like my survival was an inconvenience. I think of the contractor asking who was paying. And I think of how easy it was for them to decide I'd carry the weight because I always had. Here's what I've learned. You can run into burning buildings for strangers and still be set on fire by your own family. But you don't have to stand there and call it warmth. I'm still a firefighter. I still work hard. I still help people. Just not the ones who think love means access. And for the first time in my life, when I come home after a long shift, smoke in my hair, exhaustion in my bones, I have a door that stays mine. No one paints over it. No one takes it. And if anyone ever tells me, figure it out, I finally know the answer. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever faced something like this, where family felt more like a burden than a blessing? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.